Welcome to another Narc Survivor live video, everyone. And in this one, I'm going to be telling you what will trigger the narcissist to come back. And this could be for those of you who want the narcissist to come back, or maybe you don't want them to come back. But either way, it's still really good to be aware of this information. Depending on whether you want them to come back or not, this information can still be very useful for you. And it's exactly what you're going to find out by the end of this video. You are going to know what triggers the narcissist to come back. And this is very effective. It is highly likely that it will work for you in your situation. Before I begin, remember to give this video a thumbs up down below. It helps us support the channel. Let's get this message out there to other survivors as well. Okay, let's begin. This triggers the narcissist to come back. First, let's talk about what will not trigger the narcissist to come back. Because narcissists are not like us. You know, if you're with someone, maybe they're sad, they're upset, you had an argument, they're not feeling too good, they need your love, they need your support. If you're an empathic person like myself, you are going to be running to them and pouring your love all over them. Because that's just what we do as empaths. We cover people with our love. But with narcissists, it doesn't work that way with them. They have no love to give to you or anyone else. And in fact, when they see that you're down, you're sad, you're going through something, maybe they've hurt you, they've abused you, they've left you all on your own. It does not matter how you respond to that situation. It's just going to make them more mad. The more that you cry, the more that you beg them to come back. Even if you try to take your own life, that's not going to make a difference. That's just going to make them hate you even more. And then they will really want to ignore you. Because that's just triggering them to go in the opposite direction. You're triggering their shame, you're making them feel bad. So they will run away. They're not really running away from you, they're running away from this reflection of themselves that they do not like. But either way, no. No matter how much you beg, you cry, you plead, that does not work with narcissists. With normal people, with empaths, yes, of course. If someone comes crying, begging to me, of course I'm not just going to turn away from them. Of course I will give them as much love as they need. Of course I will do that. But narcissists, no, they are not going to do that. Instead, that's going to push them away. It's like when you're sick. It just irritates them. It just makes them want nothing to do with you. because they're self-absorbed and they lack empathy. Everything always has to be about them. It always has to be about their situation, their interests, their feelings, wants and needs. It can't just be about you. Or it can't even be about you even a little bit if it's not about them. It has to be all about them. So that is certainly one way to not trigger the narcissist to come back. Begging, crying, pleading. That is not going to work with narcissistic people. That will work very well with empathic people. You won't even have to do that if they just see that you are down, you're sad, you're upset. Of course, an empath, they will come running to you. Just as I myself, I get on here every day just to support people who are going through this. This is just what empaths do. This is our duty. But it's not something that narcissists will do. So now that I've made that clear, we understand that. Now let's get into what will trigger the narcissist to come back. And this is highly effective. I can't guarantee it, but if anything's going to make them come back, it's going to be this. Because first you have to identify what is making them stay away in the first place. Clearly, they must be getting narcissistic supply by staying away from you. That has to be giving them supply. And how is it giving them supply? Well, it's giving them supply if you are still miserable. If you're going through it, if it is bothering you by being alone or by not being with them, if it is affecting you, it's giving them supply. It's making them feel significant, relevant, important, powerful, attractive, and desirable. So how do you trigger the narcissist to come back? Well, you just do the opposite of what you're doing, that is making them stay away. So instead of feeling down and depressed, you need to raise your spirits. Remain unaffected by their absence and instead learn to enjoy your time alone. Find pleasure in that. They will immediately sense that your energy has shifted. They will no longer get supply from abandoning you, leaving you on your own. If you're no longer miserable or depressed, it's no longer getting to you. And instead, you're actually enjoying it. If their absence is having the opposite effect to what they're intending, then they're going to stop doing that. It's going to trigger them to come back. Because the whole point of them being away is to try to make you miserable. It's meant to serve as a punishment. And if it's not working, as soon as they become aware of it, they are going to stop doing it. They're not going to keep doing something if it's not having any effect. But even then, and why I said this is not a guarantee, it's because narcissists do not always have all of the power in any given situation. It's not always down to them on whether or not they can come back. What about you? If the narcissist came knocking on your door right now, Would you let them in? Would you let them come back? I don't know about you, but if I opened the door and I saw the narcissist outside the door, I would just shut the door. I wouldn't let them in. And I'm sure many of you, it's the same thing. Because now you're aware, you're awake, you're wiser, you're no longer susceptible to their manipulation. You see right through them. You're no longer under their spell. They can no longer pull the wool over your eyes. They can no longer trick or deceive you. And they may already be aware of that. So they may not even waste their time trying to come back. Even though they may see and they may be aware that you are a lot happier without them, they may still not try to come back. Because they are not going to put themselves in a position where they already know that you are going to take pleasure and find satisfaction in rejecting them. Which I know many of you will do after all of the times that they manipulated and abused you. All of the times that maybe they rejected you. Of course, you're going to find satisfaction in rejecting them. And they're already ahead of the game. They're already aware of that. So of course, they're not going to put themselves in that position. And if anything, what they're going to do, what they typically do, this was done to me before as well, they're going to twist it on you. And they're going to act like, actually, no, you didn't reject them. They rejected you. It's not that they can't come back to you. It's that they don't want to come back. Yeah, that's how they will portray it, not only to you, but to everyone else as well. Because they've got to be seen as superior. They've got so much pride and ego. Very egotistical. Very arrogant and delusional. So they will do it like that. They will act like, no, it's not that they can't come back to you. They just don't want to come back. That's if they know that they can't come back. Otherwise, you know what? They probably will. They probably will give it a go if they think that they can. If they think that they still have a chance. Especially if they can see that you are much happier without them. That will trigger them to come back, because remember, the whole point of them staying away is that it's meant to hurt you. It's meant to serve as a punishment. But you got to think, why would you want someone like that back anyway? I mean, someone who is deliberately trying to harm you, deliberately trying to cause pain to you, to get under your skin, to punish you. Narcissist or not, clearly a person like that is not going to be any good for you. If they are going to be any good, it's going to be if they're as far away from you as they can possibly be. That's the only way that they can ever possibly serve you. Is by leaving you alone. some of you, I know, despite that, you will still want to get them back, even though they may have harmed you. Even after everything they may have done to you, you may still want them back in your life, and maybe it's just that validation. You're looking for closure, an explanation for why they left in the first place. But I can tell you, if you are dealing with a true narcissist, you're never going to get that from them. You are never going to get closure, a reason, an explanation for what they did to you or for why they left. We're never going to get that from a true narcissist. That is just never going to happen. No matter how much you may want it, in fact, the more that you want it, you should know by now anything that you want from a narcissist, you're never going to get it. Anything that you desire, it's always going to be the opposite. And that is why it's good to be ahead of it by pretending to want the opposite of what you actually want. Because then, for example, if you act like you want the narcissist to come back, then they're just going to leave you alone. But when they can see that you're happy without them, you're moving on, that is when they come back. So that can help as well. But be very careful, because sometimes they may already be onto that as well. But either way, like I said, it's not always up to them if they can come back or not. Narcissists think that they are omnipotent, as though they can have anything, do anything, whenever they want, however they want. They got all of the power in the world. No. They haven't. They are not that powerful. They can try to come back, but you know what you can do? You can say no. And you can lock that door so that they can't come back in. And guess what? There is nothing they can do about it. So clearly, they're not that powerful after all. And that means you win. You have overpowered them. You have defeated them by shutting that door and locking it, keeping them out. Because I've said it before, there is no winning with a narcissist. As long as you have a narcissist in your life, you are losing. Because they will never be any good for you. They will never serve you. You will always be getting the short end of the stick. Everything you try to build with them, it will always be coming out of your pocket. They will never invest anything into you or the relationship. And that's always a red flag. When it's just one person doing all of the work, you're the one, you're paying for everything, they're living in your home, they're driving your car, you're cooking all of the food, you're doing the washing, you're cleaning their dishes. And they're just sitting around doing nothing, they're not even working. I mean, that's how it's only ever going to be. Which is why the best thing you can do, the most empowering thing you can do for yourself is to shut that door and keep it locked. That is the best thing that you can do for yourself. And by doing that, you have won. You have defeated the narcissist. Because the whole point with their false self, it's meant to be, they can do whatever they want. They can have whatever they want, whenever they want it, however they want it, and with whoever they want. But when you deny them of that, and you keep that door shut, you are invalidating their false self, their false narrative, and their false reality. Their delusions of grandeur. You're denying all of that. And what does that translate to them? Fills them full of shame, tells them that they're not good enough. So you win. At that point, you have defeated the narcissist. You have annihilated them. And that's great. Let me congratulate you. Let's throw a party. A no narcissist celebration. Because life is so much better without narcissists. Life is so much easier without them. And in fact, I have done a video on that a few years ago as well. Because it is the truth. Life is hard work with a narcissist. Without them, it is a lot easier. Life is a lot greater. It's more enjoyable. It's more satisfying. Instead of having this miserable person over your neck all of the time, bringing you down. What kind of a life is that? That's why it's best to keep them out. But those of you, whether you want them back or not, if you want to know how to trigger them to come back, this is it. Do the opposite of what you've been doing up until now. You may have been miserable, depressed, thinking about them all of the time, messaging them, calling them, looking at their social media. As long as you're doing that, it's giving them supply. They don't even need to come back to you because they already know that you want them back. They already know that if they came back, you would let them back in right now. So that's not going to make them come back. What will make them come back is if you actually find pleasure in your solitude, or you involve yourself with other people, and you're happy without them. You don't need the narcissist anymore. You don't need their closure, their validation. You don't need anything from them. When you get to that point, they will immediately sense it. They will know when you're beginning to heal, when you're beginning to move on from them. And that will trigger them to come back in most situations. Not all, but in most. Because then they're not getting their narcissistic supply if you're no longer longing and yearning for them. So that is it. That is the message. That is what triggers the narcissist to come back. I hope it was helpful, and if it was, you can show your support by giving this video a thumbs up down below. Very important, as it helps to get this message out there to other survivors as well. And you can let me know what you think about this video in the comment section down below. Also hit that subscribe button and click all notifications so that you will be notified of my future videos. If you'd like to book a one-on-one with me, you can go to my website. It is narcsurvivor.co.uk. And you can follow me on Instagram. It is Narc Survivor YouTube. Again, thank you all for joining me on another Narc Survivor live video. You all have a great day, and I will talk to you in another one very soon.